The marine environment creates a battery between steel and aluminum. If this corrosion runs too deep, the airframe is scrap. Finding a rare Panther jet is incredible. Finding one parked this close to the ocean means we are fighting a chemical war. The Navy retired her decades ago. The ocean spent the rest of the time trying to dissolve the metal frame entirely. The legendary folding wings are completely locked solid by salt crystals. We have to break these mineral welds very carefully. The salt has pitted the main wing skin. If these cavities penetrate the structural spar, this carrier jet will never hold its own weight. The salt air has completely clouded the bubble canopy. The acrylic is so brittle it feels like sun-baked eggshells. The exhaust tube is completely lined with salt cakes. The jet turbine core inside is completely cut off from visual inspection. The canopy is completely welded shut by corrosion products. We have to clear the tracks manually before forcing the emergency slide. The cannon doors protect crucial nose structures. Salt has welded the steel latches directly into the nose frame sockets. Saltwater spray actually allowed marine life to nest inside the nose gear bays. These shells are literally glued to the airframe, shocking the hydraulic locks. The internal pistons are entirely bound up with crystallized sea salt deposits. The nose tire is completely split down to the inner canvas plies. Saltwater has thoroughly dry rotted the classic rubber carcass. The tail assembly acted like a lightning rod for sea spray. The internal hinge pins are completely frozen by corrosion scale. Transport rigging is secure. We are pulling this Navy fighter away from the ocean air before it dissolves completely. The counterattack begins. This specialized chemical descaler reacts instantly, melting away decades of calcified salt sheets in seconds. Ripping through the calcified mineral block, the wire wheel breaks up the stubborn deposits, clearing the hidden alclad skin below. Grinding away the deep surface oxidation layer, the conditioning disc strips the rot, leaving clean military silver trails behind. These gun door fasteners have been locked solid since 1955. The impact wrench has to shock the corrosion joints loose, forcing the canopy tracks open. The calcified corrosion products scream as the mechanical pry bar shears them completely apart. Evacuating the ruined cockpit dials. Salt air has bypassed the glass seals, leaving thick crystalline deposits inside the delicate gauge housings. Extracting the J-48 turbojet core. Separating the rear fuselage allows the massive crane to pull the power plant completely out, driving out the main wing hinge pins. The massive steel link joints are completely frozen by saltwater calcification scale layers.
Media blasting cuts through the damaged livery. The high-velocity stream strips away decades of sea-etched paint in clean horizontal trails.
The chemical stripper liquefies the old squadron markings. Watch the historic military logos curdle into a thick sludge layer. The high-pressure rinse sweeps the slurry into the floor drain, uncovering pristine, raw military alclad aluminum beneath the mess. Amputating the deeply salt-pitted metal margins. We have to cut clean, square borders to make room for fresh structural patches. Smoothing out the raw-cut junctions. This creates a perfect flatland area on the internal stringers for patch panel integration. The teardown and strip-down phases are locked in. Every speck of white salt crust is history. The clean reconstruction starts now. Deep cleaning the internal structural tracks. We must extract every grain of blast residue before introducing any brand new assembly parts. Cleaning out subterranean oxidation pockets. The gear pockets must be entirely immaculate before we shoot the internal protection coat. Engineering the custom intake fairing replacement panels. Every dimension tracks original 1950s Grumman factory blueprints down to the millimeter, hand-shearing the panel blank. This structural aviation-grade alloy resists the blades, demanding massive, calculated hand squeeze pressure. Bending the structural backing attachment flange. A single continuous fluid pull prevents internal fractures along the sheet grain line, crimp forming the offset step margin. This allows our fresh panel insert to seat dead flush with original adjoining skins. Dressing the raw sheared boundaries. Removing the micro burrs prevents stress cracks from developing down the road under heavy vibration loads. Popping the rivet locator holes. Keeping the pattern spacing absolutely identical ensures structural consistency along the underlying internal framing ribs. The piece fabrication phase is finished. The assembly layout table is set. Time to execute the structural riveting. Welding up the primary structural wing spars. TIG welding requires ultra-precise heat control to preserve original structural heat treatment metrics. Laying down overlapping ripples. The filler rod dips evenly, melting down into a perfectly strong, dense connection seam matrix. Quenching the fresh weld zone. The rapid cooling locks the internal molecular structure, completing the wing spar repair. Slicing away the remnants of salt damage. The air chisel acts like a scalpel, isolating the healthy structure frames cleanly. Engineering the compound intake curve. The rolling wheels stretch the metal blank evenly, crowning the aerodynamic fairing face sheet.
Incrementally dialing in the tracking tension pressure. Micro adjustments prevent low flat spots from ruining the smooth intake curves.
Planishing the flange return corners by hand. Rhythmic hammer blows true up the metal thickness along the layout lines. The air-driven hammer strikes thousands of finishing blows per minute, ironing out tracking dimples into a smooth satin curve.
Dropping the new panel into position, the hand-formed intake sheet fits square against the 1955 bulkheads with zero alignment resistance. Clamping down the assembly layout with temporary brass clecos. These pins lock the parts solid before final rivet holes are bored.
Verifying panel gap tolerances. A constant 0.5mm seam distance prevents edge friction under structural fuselage expansion loads. Driving home the structural skin rivets, the pneumatic tool delivers massive impact energy, squashing the rivet shanks flat against the bucking bar. Every single rivet head sits dead flush inside its pocket land. The aerodynamic surface profile is perfectly restored. Block sanding the repair seams down. 80 grit paper shapes the metal transitions, flattening out heavy panel height discrepancies, stepping up the abrasive grain size to 120 grit. Each progressive pass scratches away the deeper tooling marks. The dual-action random rotation pattern prevents heavy surface scoring, leaving a uniform scratch landing zone ready for high refinements.
Spreading dry carbon guide powder over the work surface. The dark dust isolates any remaining microdents instantly.
Finishing block passes with fine 220 paper. High flat metal returns to silver, cleanly leaving low pockets dark, planishing out the remaining micro deviation. Delicate precision blows pull the low pocket flush with the adjoining silver faces.
The scratch pattern is fully uniform now. Not a single low spot or tooling blemish remains across the panel surface.
Cleaning the surface area with a specialty tack rag. Every trace of fine aluminum cutting powder is extracted before coatings. Structural metal reconstruction is officially closed down. The airframe skin lines are perfectly slick. Next, we apply the foundational primers. Applying the heavy dark gray epoxy primer base. This non-porous chemical layer provides an impenetrable barrier against oxygen atoms.
Watching the bare silver vanish beneath a dense gray sheet. The wet coating levels out flawlessly over rivet lines.
The primer application is complete. The entire front fuselage looks like a seamless, monolithic industrial stone sculpture now. Wet block sanding the gray primer base. Rhythmic passes level the coating, erasing micro-texture before final color layers roll out. The rubber squeegee sweep leaves a perfectly dry, absolute flat surface line behind. No orange peel texture survived.
Preparing the authentic gloss navy blue base pigment. This iconic deep ocean tone will restore the carrier jet's true visual identity.
Shooting the color base. The rich navy blue pigment completely buries the gray stone base layout under a wet sheet. Overlapping spray passes. Keeping the tool tracking speed perfectly constant avoids any shadowing discrepancies along the deep blue fields. The color floor is fully down. The raw wing layout is blanketed inside an absolute sea of flat navy blue lacquer.
The crystal clear gloss layer flows out. Instantly, the flat paint shifts into a deep, liquid glass lens finish.
Building clear coat depth fields. 3 continuous wet passes create an enormous protective glass shell over the deep navy pigment, misting water over the cured clear panel. Wet lubrication isolates the fine finishing blocks during the dust nib removal passes. Wet block flattening with 2000 paper. The brilliant shine temporarily blurs out, flattening minuscule orange peel bumps completely down. Spinning up the wool buffing tool pad. The abrasive compound cuts the haze away, instantly unlocking a true glass reflectivity line.
The final cloth pass completes the transformation. The paint finish is an absolute deep navy blue liquid mirror shell.
Commencing the micro-detailing stage. The specialized buffer cuts away ocean dullness, transforming the pitot probes into reflective liquid chrome spikes. Cleaning the main wing folding interlocking gear teeth. Every individual heavy mechanical knuckle channel is systematically freed of marine oxidation. Resetting the primary pilot command ejection seat. The heavy backing frame anchors home inside the cabin with a dense metallic click. Screwing home the dashboard gauges, the fresh crystal display elements replace the ocean-clouded originals, showing perfectly sharp navigation scale readouts. Polishing the landing gear heavy struts. The massive structural cylinder plungers are polished down to mirror-flat chromium surfaces. Rerouting the primary engine fuel looms. Stainless steel connections are systematically bolted inside fresh anodized isolation blocks down the lines, torquing the main turbine fuel input block. The seal line is permanently closed down, certifying full structural containment. Dropping the optical windshield glass into the canopy frame. The sea-etched original pieces are fully replaced with absolute crystalline vision blocks. Seating the new canopy border seals. Hand-pressing the rubber track forms a hermetic capsule, keeping all corrosive coastal air out forever. The primary canopy dome locks shut down tight. The mechanical tracking seals perfectly against the fresh perimeter rubber strips, securing the main landing gear wheels. These fresh carrier-grade combat tires completely replace the flat split shells we dragged from the gravel. The structural lock click echoes through the bay. The main rolling gear is officially cleared to support full aircraft weight metrics. Unveiling the historical squadron insignias, the brilliant white lettering cuts sharply across the vast ocean depth of deep Navy paint fields. From an oxidized coastal grave wreck down to an absolute mechanical masterpiece, the visual contrast is completely stunning. The calcified marine scaling block has vanished. The new intake lip structure shines like a fluid pool of polished sterling silver.
The fogged, broken enclosure has been replaced with flawless clarity. The cabin layout looks completely factory new inside the frame bounds.
We extracted the decay layers entirely. The turbine bay internals are organized down to absolute engineering concourse presentation specs.
Presenting the completed Grumman Panther fighter jet, a legendary carrier classic, fully reborn into a flawless deep blue mirror gloss bullet.
The front lines are absolute perfection. The mirror-polished chrome inlet accent frames the deep blue skin layout beautifully.
70 feet of wing area, finished in a flawless deep blue glass coat. Paint seams disappear entirely into the panels.
The forward cannon deck looks magnificent. Every flush screw line sits true, completely erasing the calcified rust pockets of the past. The cockpit interior is an absolute time machine. Every button dial face tracks true, fully certified for historical preservation display. The tail rudder mechanics are immaculate now. The historic insignias ride proud on an unbroken ocean of midnight blue gloss clear. The main interlocking wings joints are flawless. Polished gear segments catch the studio array lights like solid jewelry accents. Standing proud on authentic carrier tires, this historic 40,000-pound jet bullet dominates the main showroom space with unmatched mechanical stance presence. We have successfully brought a classic warbird back from the chemical brink. Her lines shine as deep as her operational history. Setting the final assembly plate, this engraved maker badge seals our restoration journey directly into the aircraft frame structure forever. The belly speed brakes were completely locked up with salt scale. Now they operate smoothly and reflect the floor like glass. The nose-mounted pitot probe calculates critical cockpit airspeed metrics. We polish the steel until it reflects like a visual mirror. The wing-fold safety locks keep the outer panels anchored straight during flight. The mechanics operate with zero binding tolerances now.
The fuel filler caps were heavily scaled with salt encrustation. We bead blasted the housings and machined new internal copper tabs.
The runway floodlights catch the deep blue finish beautifully. The clear coat acts like a liquid mirror under the evening sky.
Marine fog layers had permanently etched the outer glass faces. We carefully polished out the clouding to achieve complete optical clarity. The wheelbase systems are fully recharged. The sight glass shows clean, red hydraulic fluid holding target values perfectly. The exhaust shroud rings were heavily warped by thermal cycles and salt spray. We rebuilt the geometry on specialized frame jigs. Rewiring the entire cockpit switch console took weeks. Every mechanical click now sounds exactly like classic factory assembly lines.
Applying the final restoration stencil markers, the high-visibility emergency lettering sits absolutely clean against the vast navy blue lacquer base.
The trailing edge hydraulic flaps deploy flawlessly. The mechanical actuator cylinders handle the structural transit with absolute factory clearance. Core power station checks are officially finished. The onboard aircraft wiring grids are independent and functioning beautifully down the line. Syncing the mechanical instrumentation layout blocks. The classic cockpit clock unit is fully wound, tracking time with absolute precision.
The main hangar thresholds are buttoned down tight. Overhead spotlight frames trace the deep navy lines, showcasing the finish.
Landing gear mechanical doors close perfectly flush. Every machined aluminum hinge link operates with seamless, factory clearance precision. Installing the safety covers inside the 20mm cannon tubes. The nose weapon bays are completely reassembled and protected. The glare shield leather texture is fully restored. The non-reflective finish protects the instrumentation clusters from canopy sunlight bouncing.
This legendary Navy carrier fighter is officially saved. Rebuilt,
Reborn from the salt crust to endure forever. The Grumman Panther restoration project is officially complete and beautifully preserved.
The Panther jet is fully reborn. Rescued from the salt air, restored completely by hand, standing immortal in the halls of history.